This next section, I'm going to show you how to make sort of the assembly here on the end, sort of the V here, the A, I guess the A, because it's an A because it goes this way, the A-shaped frame at the end. It's also going to include, for now, the brace. So we need the legs, which are these items. We need the two cross-member supports, and then the brace. So the rotation tool gets a little tricky. We're going to start by putting the legs up next to each other. Don't make copies of the components until you need it, just to keep things a little more simple. So we're going to take the leg here. We're going to use the rotation tool. Now, if there's one thing you remember, is try and avoid when you get the black compass, because that turns things diagonally, and when you start getting things not lined up, when you start turning it crooked, it gets a little more confusing. It's not impossible, but to avoid confusion, do your best to never, ever click with the black compass unless you really know what you're doing. So I need to tilt this up so that it makes this A shape. Right, so first, whoops. Alright, so it will spin things the way the circle goes. So for instance, if this green circle was spinning on my screen, it would almost be spinning left to right. So that is going to spin it that direction. So just like the compass tool, we want to click, wiggle it a little bit, click again. Now you can eyeball it until it gets to 90, because 90 is going to be straight up and down, or we can just type in 90 degrees. So that is a good step one there. All right, and be sure as you do this to rotate, change your view, move things around, move the screen so you can see things better. Now, we'll need to rotate this, on, oops, I made a mistake. If you get two dots, the two dots is also bad news. You want to click once and click again, you really just want one dot. You need to rotate this on the red axis now so that the very bottom of the board is flat with the ground. You can eyeball it, so we're going to rotate it 30 degrees, or you can simply type in the 30 degrees, or it might even be 60, depending on if it's the, I just forget complementary and supplementary, but it depends on what angle you start at. So now we have this sitting upright, just because I can. I'm just going to move this over a little bit, give myself some more space. So now I'm going to copy this component. You can use Control-C and Control-V to paste, or you can use Control and the Move tool, whatever works for you. So I'm going to get this, oops, I'm using the rotate tool. All right, I'm going to get this in the neighborhood. Over here, well, first, obviously, we got to flip this around. So I'm going to use the rotate tool again because it has to face the other way. You're going to see now the blue compass and how it's going to spin this way flat, because that's where the blue compass is. Now make sure when you click the second time, you have one dot here. That's really important. So we're going to spin it around. We want to do a 180 with it. We can guess, or we can simply type it in and give it a 180. Now these are going to be lined up, facing the way these should be. Now looking at the diagram here, I can see that from this corner of this brace to this corner, this leg, to this corner of this leg is 10 inches. So I'm going to use the tape measure tool here. I'm going to make a guide that is 10 inches. Typed in 10, I hit enter. And now I want this corner here to line up with this guide point here. If you actually grab the corner itself, drag it over to the guide point, it sort of snaps it to the guide point. So you can put it exactly where you want it. That's very powerful. So again, those are 10 centimeters apart based on the diagram there. Now, I want to put the, what's it called in here? The cross member seat support. It's going to be 16 inches from the ground at this top point. And doing the math, I'm kind of telling you the math here. But if you do the math, this point is 4.5 inches horizontally away from the bottom of the leg here. So this is 16 inches. This is 4.5 inches. So that's going to tell us where to put the supports. So I'm gonna. So we want to measure one that's 4.5 and 4.5 to the right, 16. So I'm going to put a guide point here. 4.5. Enter. And then it's 16 inches up from there, so it'll go straight up on its own. So 16. Enter. And then that's where that corner is where